In the previous segment, we talked about how unisons, or primes, seconds and thirds fit into your hand. Let's just quickly review those three intervals, and then we're going to move along to larger intervals. And in this segment, we're going to talk about fourths and fifths. So unisons, to quickly review, go from a space to the same space. They're also called prime intervals or repeated notes. They can go from line to line as well. All right, seconds, line to the next space, space to the next line. They can also go down, of course, like that. And they can go down like that. All right. If you see them in music and they're touching each other, that is going to create what's called a harmonic interval, and they will be played at the same time. So sometimes you'll see them like that as well. Just so you know, you can't stack these on top of each other because you don't have room. But let me play one more that would be a melodic. Remember, there's no space in here on the keyboard. And if we put them so they touch, we're making harmonic intervals. Thirds, we have learned, go from a line to a line note, or a space to a space note. And we can come back down as well. Here's a line to a line. Remember, with that third, you have one note in between your interval, and on the staff, you have a note right there in between. All right, so let's talk about fourths. Fourths look a little bit like seconds in that they go from a line to a space note, but a second goes to the very next space note, and a fourth is going to go to the space note above that or below it. So we will have with a fourth a note in between here and a note in between there. So for a fourth, you can always characteristically, when you're playing them on white notes, see two notes between the interval. And this one will sound like this. Okay, so let's say that we want to go from a space note and go up. Let's just say we're going to go up. So we don't go to the next line, but we go to the line after that. Let's make sure that you can see that on the keyboard. We're going to go from this note to that note, and if you look down here, you have two notes in between. Okay, and of course we can go down, and we're not going to go to this one, but we're going to go to this one. Okay. All right. And if we want to, let's do this, play a harmonic fourth, we just play them at the same time, and you'll see them in your music stacked on top of each other vertically. To make a fifth, no big surprise here, we're just going to go up one note. And that will go from a line note to a line note. It also looks a little bit like a third, obviously bigger. A third goes line to line, and a fifth will go to that next line. Or space to the next space. Now let's say that we want to go from that note, and we're going to come down. Remember, this is a space note. We're putting that above that ledger line. And in the treble clef, if we read this as a treble clef, this would be our C ledger line, and we would go from here down to here, and if you notice, we have three notes in between. And here we would have a note here, and a note there. So fourths, line to space or space to line. Fifths, line to line or space to space. That's your fourths and your fifths.